Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
We are, as always, overjoyed that you are within our speaking presence.
That's true. Your listening acumen is within our speaking presence. And together, that makes for one hell of a podcast experience.
We cherish that.
Yes.
We cherish you.
It's the only thing I asked for Christmas last year.
Yeah.
Was you all to be here. And guess what? I'm still getting my gift.
Yeah. I said, you know what? I hope there's not enough rising inflation to create a recession. And I'm still waiting on that, but instead I got you, and that's okay. I'm glad you're here.
You're all a wonderful concession.
To a recession.
To a recession. You're a recession concession, and we appreciate that.
We appreciate you. That's right. Welcome to Market Talk with Doug and Justin. Justin's the macro guy. I'm the micro guy. Let's talk about the Greeks. Justin, how's your theta hanging?
Short shriveled, always to the left.
Oh, man. It is good to be here. It is good to be with you. It's good to be here with the chat.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
You.
I was going to ask, why don't you do the housekeeping, and then I'll ask you a question.
Housekeeping. Real quick, gang, let's get this out of the way. If you like us, and if you're listening, I'm assuming you do, couple quick things. One, just like and review, rate, and all that stuff. And if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. youtube.com/mindgappodcast. I want to shout out everyone who has subscribed recently. We are at 190 subscribers. We are 10 away from 200, which is a huge milestone for us. This is fantastic. So I appreciate you all hitting that subscribe button because it's easy. It's so easy. You just hit subscribe. If you like what we're doing, I appreciate it. Like, it's so cool. You know, It's something that I think it was actually Sergio who just subscribed today. He goes, I didn't even realize I wasn't subscribed. I went to go find your episode. And I had to search for it like an idiot. So if you're that person, you're just like, hey, I want to be able to find it real easy. That's a big bonus. Just hit subscribe and it'll be there. And the subscriptions, again, it helps us a ton. We're working towards 1,000 subscribers. That's one of the milestones to work towards getting monetized here. So appreciate that. The other part's watch time, and if you're here watching and listening to us, then you're accounting for that. So
you're doing your part already.
You're doing the best. We appreciate you. Much love, love. And then also, big favor to ask as well. Share our stuff. You know, that is the big thing to help just getting it out to more eyes and ears and things like that. Just whether it's one of our shorts, whether it's one of our segments like Ask Practical Doug or Anime Out of Context, or if it's a full episode, awesome. Just throw it out to the world and be like, hey, even if it's just one person, just being like, hey, I think this would really fit you. I do this to Justin all the time. I hear a little segment from an episode. And I'm like, Justin, you should check this out. I think you'll enjoy it. And Justin does the same thing for me. Share that stuff around just to get more eyes and ears on it. Like, that would mean the world to us. And if you're thinking of other ways to, support us, consider, subscribing to our patreon.com/mindgappodcast, or picking up some of our merch at redbubble.com/ just go to redbubble.com and type in Mindgap Podcast in the search and you'll find our stuff. You can buy one of these cool shirts. Look, I'm wearing my own merch.
Oh, get out of town.
Because it's fucking comfortable, man. It's a tri-blend tee. It's super cozy. I like it. It's cool.
Tri-blend tee. Explain that. What does that mean?
It's got 3 different ingredients, Justin.
Let me cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Polyester.
Yes.
Rayon.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know what's in here, but it's a tri-blend, and I like it, and it's super cozy. And I have one of these because I want to see what it was like when I ordered it from not Teespring, those pieces of shit, from Redbubble. I'm like, oh, this is infinitely better. I struggle wearing it because I'm always like, are you supposed to wear your own merch? Is that really tacky?
Yeah, you are.
But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear it because it's cool and it's comfortable. So if you want, you can pick that shit up. So
if you want to be cool and comfortable, buy a t-shirt.
Yeah. It says Mind Gap on it. You're welcome. All right. That is housekeeping. Like us, subscribe to us, share us. That's all we're asking. Thank you for your time. Justin,
Yes.
the floor is
yours. What I
yours.
was going to say is I'm very excited that you're here too, and that you did not blow away yesterday, because I heard that there was some real dicey weather that shot through the suburbs last night. Did you guys get hit with that?
Nope, not me.
You didn't really?
Nope, not me.
Wow.
I mean, it looked like it was going to get real dicey. I mean, the sky turned green,
Yeah.
And it looked like some bad stuff was happening. I saw the tornado warning, but it was just, it was beyond us,
That's
thankfully.
incredible,
So
because in Riverside, where we have cousins that live out there, they were posting pictures of like pretty thick trees that were just snapped in half in their neighborhoods. And so like I know Bob and his wife took their daughter down into the basement for a little while there up in the Jefferson Park area. And that was, there was a few people who I had heard that it got real worrisome for a while. So my first thought, I was just like, shit, I wonder if Doug and his family got any, but it sounds like my worry is for nothing.
well, last year, we had the tornado that was just a mile away from us, which was fucking terrifying. So, we've been through that. So we're not missing out. We're good.
I just assumed that was every time now there was inclement weather.
Natalie's really nervous about that shit. She's like, can we keep an eye on the tornado? And I'm like, Natalie, we're going to keep an eye on it. Don't worry. So she remembers how we like woke her up and brought her down to the basement and stuff like that. And she's always like,
You should really figure out and just go, Natalie, we can keep an eye on it, but just so you know,
it won't matter.
if it comes for us, there's nothing we can do for it.
Right?
It's
It's like that thing in the league where Shiva sees the Shiva trophy and Nick Kroll's like, I can explain it to you, but it's not going to make you feel any better.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, we can watch for it, but it ain't going to matter,
Yeah. Do you want to see it coming for you? Or do you just want to be surprised by it? I mean, that's really the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want it?
Yeah, right? That's what I asked your mom, and now you're born. So
Thanks, Dad.
you're welcome. Magic. Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Justin, how was your week?
my week was really good. Yeah, I had my mom and stepdad came up, so we had some more visitors.
Sweet.
In Grand Old Michigan here, in Grand Old Rapids, and it was a good weekend. They came up on Friday, and we took them through some of the neighborhoods. We're looking at houses. We took them to some of the restaurants that we've fallen in love with, and we went on a beautiful hike on Saturday, and we actually just got membership to Frederick Myers Garden, which is kind of like Chicago Botanic or Morton Arboretum, and walked around that. And so, spoiler alert, when you guys come up here, that's definitely something we're doing.
Nice.
Because you guys like the Arboretum so much, you were saying that I was like, Cockreds are going to love this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, we had a really, really good weekend. It was relaxing, perfect weather, absolute perfect weather.
It really was.
Unlike today, which is just gross and hot.
Yeah.
But it was a good weekend. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Friday night was movie night. We finished watching Prehistoric Earth. Is what it's called on Apple TV. And Natalie, of course, thought it was awesome. We watched the last 3 episodes and had a really good time with it. So, which is really, really cool. She's just so into dinosaurs. It's awesome.
I like how that's not relenting either.
No, it's really not. She's super into it. So that was cool. Saturday, I almost can't even remember my weekend. Saturday, Natalie had a play date with one of her best friends at school, which was really cool. Do you know what a gotcha day is?
A gotcha day.
Gotcha day.
Not in the innocent sense.
Yeah, right. Gotcha. No, it's not like where you goose someone's asshole or anything like that. But it's
like if you and I had a gotcha day, it would be probably very different than a kid's gotcha day.
Yeah, this is. Well, I don't know. That sounded really gross, but
I'd like to rephrase that.
Like, no, too late. It's an internet forever. But I actually learned what this was. It's when it's like the day that parents adopt their child, and so it's not like a birthday, but it's like the day that we got you, so they call it the gotcha day. And so
love it.
I also learned that her friend was adopted. I was like, well, that's cool. We went over to their house, and Natalie got to play with her, and met another girl that was just a year older, and they had a really good time, and which was really cool.
I'm assuming Saturday was this girl's gotcha day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was fun. I wouldn't say it was necessarily fun to watch them play, because it was one of those things where I'm like, I kind of just want watching kids play with each other when it's not going well is exhausting, because they are constantly trying to play and make rules and then do this, do that, pretend this, pretend that. Some of them gets mad because they want to do something the other person doesn't want to do it. But it's just like they're cool with each other and then they're not. And it's just fucking exhausting. And I was after a while, I'm like, are we done here? Because I'm over this. Like, this is brutal. I kept telling Natalie, I'm like, hey, because she wanted to go inside and play with this girl's Barbies. And it's like, but this girl wanted to stay outside. And I was like, hey, this isn't your day, okay? It's hers, right?
Yeah.
Do what she wants to do, okay? You're a guest in her house, so deal with it. She's like, but I want to go inside. I'm like, I don't care. It's not up to you. Fucking play out here, okay? Like, deal with it.
So it went moderately well.
It was fine. She had fun, and actually, it was kind of nice to meet this girl's parents, like, and chat with them. They were really cool. And then Natalie, I actually got to go see Natalie get her haircut for the first time. Normally, I don't go to that because I don't care. Wow. But because
not something you have to contend with.
Nope.
Therefore, not something you have any interest in.
No, but it was amazing because Natalie loves getting her hair cut. She's like smiles ear to ear the whole time. It's like a big deal because she goes to Jill's salon place, so she goes to a big girl place, and she has the same hairdresser as Jill, and she's just I showed up because I was like, you know what? There's a bakery over here I've never been to. I was like, I want to check out some of their bread. Got some delicious sourdough. Came back in. And I was like waiting for her, and she just comes marching out after getting her haircut, her hair washed, and she was just like, she was just like so proud. I'm like, God, this girl is amazing. Just throughout the whole process, she's just grinning, just like loves it. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It was just very fun to see. And then I had an excellent stream on Saturday, played some Left 4 Dead 2, which is always a treat.
That's always fun.
Always fun. There'll be a YouTube short dropping tomorrow as of when we're recording this. If you're listening to this, whenever we launch it on Friday, it's already there. You should check that out and share it because it's fun.
Check it out.
So, yeah. Jared says his barber's name's Natalie. Nice. Coincidence?
We did it.
Probably. But that's pretty cool. And then, Sunday, not much, I think, happened on then. So, overall, great weekend. Okay week so far. Just dealing with, work life, which is meh.
I think we can all agree on one thing, and that just work sometimes just blows.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm having a midlife crisis, which is always thrilling. I think I've been having a midlife crisis for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was going to say, are you comfortable opening this up a little bit?
I'll open it up a little bit. I'm not going to tell everyone everything, but
no, just the concept of a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
More or less.
I never knew what that meant.
That was exactly what I was going to say, is that when I was younger, I always heard about these midlife crises. And when you're younger, you're like 40. Jesus Christ. Like, that's no wonder these guys are having, they're all bald and fat and
right.
Oops. Well, you're fit now.
Whatever.
But,
hey man, truth is truth. Okay.
No. But I'm saying, it's the guys with the comb overs with the bad, like that was always the picture of, adults having the midlife crisis. They got the comb overs, they've got the giant beer guts, and they're rolling around in their red Ferraris and, leaving their wives and this and that. And I was like, I don't get this concept.
Taking dumps in the bushes,
Taking, as one does as they get older.
Yeah.
And now that we're both approaching 40, I'm just like, oh, that's not what this is at all. Like the concept of a midlife crisis is a very real concept that's not just for middle-aged men. Like, it is like anyone who is approaching a certain point in their life. It's an existential reality check, and it can be pretty intense.
Yeah, I think it started with the pandemic, and I think I was shocked out of, my standard routine. I'm very much a routine-based person, And, I do things because that's what you're supposed to do. And then the pandemic was like, oh, no, you don't have to commute into work. And, oh, no, you can work from home all the time. And I was like, oh, wait, I like spending this time with my family and doing the things that I want to do. And that's sort of like continued. At first, it was like a joke when Jill and I would go on walks over lunch and stuff. We're like, I think we're having a midlife crisis. Now it's like we're both like, I really think we're having a midlife crisis. Like, we're struggling with our I don't know if I want to call it our identities, but it's the idea of like, what do we want from our careers at this point? Because both of us are very protective of our time. And I find myself just being like, I kind of want to do stuff by my rules, by my design, not necessarily corporate America's.
Well, if I could be so bold to assume a little bit, like, for a long time, your careers kind of defined both you and Jill. Like, you guys really, your identities were tied into what you guys were doing. Like, for a little while, like, you really leaned into this new thing that you found through a few different companies. And, Jill really leans into like what she does. And like, I think it's easy to have your identity to get tied up in that. So when you say identity crisis, I don't think you're too far off. Like, I think some people take it. It can sound like this overly dramatic thing to say, but I think it truly is a crisis of identity. Like, who are you defined by what you do, and who are you outside of that? And is it possible to change what you do and be more true to yourself and what you enjoy?
Yeah, I struggle a little bit to say identity because I'm always fine with who I am, but what it is just like, what do I want to do? Like, that's, again, like, I thought I found it a couple years ago, and now it's evolved into something else where I'm like, I think I want to do something else. Like, I'm not really happy with a significant portion of what I do, and I want to do something scary. And I'm looking to potentially do freelance, and go out on my own, which it's become 2 years ago would have sounded horrifying. And now I'm like, that sounds fucking awesome. It has its own pros and cons. You got to literally hunt for your work. But at the same time, I don't have to go to fucking all hands meetings. I don't have to do peer reviews. I don't have to do annual reviews. I don't have to give a shit about the mission, vision, and values. There's so much about corporate America that, again, the company I work for is great. They are amazing people. I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more grateful to be having this squad of people. The amount of support I have is overwhelmingly amazing.
Yeah.
People give a shit about me. And that also makes me feel really guilty because I'm also like, I don't know if I want to be here. And it's not their fault. It's on me.
I was going to say, like, it's not an indictment on the company you work for in the slightest. It is the larger concept of corporate America, or of not even corporate America, just corporate life. I think that is the thing. And when we were working at assignment desk, there's in no reality would I have ever said that Doug would have gotten to this point. Like,
right. I wouldn't have said that either.
No, it was like you were very much by the book and get a good job and get a good lineup, like where your next paycheck is coming from, this and that. And it's just interesting to watch the evolution of someone kind of find their creative voice and realize that there might be more to it, and that it's not just to be at a place for 30 years and get the gold watch and the pension and the whole 9 yards. Like, that is it's such an outdated modality of how to do things. And I don't think it rings true anymore. I think a lot of people are trying to hold on to that. And I do think the pandemic had a lot to do with it too.
Well, I definitely think the folks who were like, I'm working at a place for 30 years and then retiring, those people absolutely had midlife crisis because you're stuck. You are literally stuck doing this because your pension was based on that. So
well, at that point too, I feel like your identity truly does start to get tied up in what you do. And so like, to have that midlife identity crisis, that is very understandable for someone in that position.
Well, also it's kind of gross in our society in America too, where like one of the first two questions you ask someone is, what's your name and what do you do for a living? Which is really gross. Right. Because I actually heard a comedian say, what you're really asking is, how should I treat you?
That's such a good point. Absolutely.
Because if you're like, I'm a janitor, it's like, oh, okay. But if you're like, yeah, I'm chief technology officer at this startup, people are like, oh,
yeah,
it's kind of gross.
Which is what I heard someone saying. I've actually tried to amend the way. It's not easy at all because it goes against every social norm that we've been conditioned for. But I have I really enjoy the idea, and I've tried it a few times to ask instead of that, what do you do, and whatever the standard question you ask, what's the best concert you ever attended as your opening question to get to know you, or what do you like to do on a day off, and really get to know that person rather than what they associate their 9 to 5 with, and it creates an entirely new. You're either going to get someone who doesn't know how to answer it because they've never been asked that question before, or you're going to have one of the best conversations of unprompted conversations of your life.
Yeah, I think it's more important to sort of like be present in the conversation and like take, for example, this, Natalie's, best friend, like just chatting with her dad for a little bit. He made a hell of a spread of food, and he's like basically saying, he's like, yeah, I made all this. I'm like, yeah? He's like, yeah, I love to cook. I'm like, me too. What's your favorite thing to cook? And then we just went down that road. Like, that's
there it is. Yeah.
Exactly what it was. I have no idea. He also said, like, he built their deck, so I'm assuming he's good with his hands. Like, I don't know. I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea what her mom does for a living. It's like, whatever. You guys are fun, so that's all that matters to me.
And that's the thing. It doesn't matter. Like, unless,
If anything, I say it out of pure curiosity of just being like, I'm curious, like, what are your, like, what are you skilled at? Because I'm just curious, like, because that's the thing for me is like, what are you good at? Because it's always fun to know what people's skills are.
Or what are your, I love the what are your hobbies kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The point where I really am curious about someone's occupation and what they do is when they're living in like a Winnetka or like a Glencoe or a Kenilworth. I'm like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living? How is this possible?
Yeah.
All of you can't be doctors, so what do you do?
Yeah. Are we preaching the gospel of the Lord?
Amen.
Amen. Praise, gravy be with you.
Gravy be with you.
Yeah.
Coming up to Uncle Doug's Meat Church.
Uncle Doug Meats Church. $5.99 brisket. It's kind of cheap for brisket, but have a brisket.
Can't beat it. Don't trust it.
Yeah. Don't trust it. Whatever. Hey, you get what you paid for. That's what I say.
Can't beat it. Don't eat it.
Oh God. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. I'm trying to figure some shit out. It's stressful, but I don't know. I'm hoping I can figure something out and be happy. Because at the end of the day, that's really what I like doing is just being happy. I find I'm most at peace when I'm just hanging out with my family after work, doing stuff on the weekends, like just hanging out with them, going on vacations. Like I love planning vacations. Just that sort of stuff is great. That makes me happy. And I'm like, how can I really make this the focus of my life and make work, help provide me with what I need to make this life work? Because I wouldn't say I don't derive value from work. I do, but I made this analogy to my mentor at work the other day where I was trying to explain, what I enjoy doing and what I don't. And I said, I went to school for improv, and when I started, I didn't know anybody and I didn't know any different. I sucked, and I met every class was a new person, and meeting new people, learning their style for like 8 weeks at a time, and then doing that, and then going to a new school and doing the same thing. And I got to the point where, and then I started writing, and got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to start with new people anymore. Like, I don't want to meet new people, and I want to play with the people that I want to play with. I met core people that I liked doing improv and comedy with. I'm like, I just want to play with these people all the time. Right. I don't want to go back to zero. And I kind of turned that to my mentor. I go, that's what I'm doing now. This is what I'm really good at, and I'm not doing that. I kind of, at this point in my career, just want to do this. Like, that's what I want to do. I'm not in my late 20s being like, I need to explore everything. I'm like, no, I pretty much found what I like. Can I just do that?
Yeah.
Can I just do that, please? Like, that's what I want to do. Don't need anything else. Don't expect much. I want to do this thing.
I think the hardest part, though, or one of the hardest parts is identifying that.
Yeah.
Like being honest enough to identify that. That is I don't think you can undercut how big of a hurdle that is.
It's a hurdle because especially you're like, well, what am I going to do about that? It like probably means I'm going to have to create my own position in my own world because I don't know if a place like the job might exist, but am I qualified to do just that for what? I don't know. Who knows? It's wild to consider, but at the same time, I'm like, what I want to do is video editing. I want to edit videos for folks. I want to do freelance stuff like kind of like what we do. Hey, do you have a podcast? And you're like, man, I really wish someone would help edit clips together.
Here we go. Chill right now. Here we go.
Or I stream. And man, it's tough making these clips and these segment videos and editing all this shit together. It sucks. It's time consuming. It sure is. You know what would help you if you had someone who was able to do it for you? And all I'm saying is just have me on as a monthly retainer. All right? Pay me a monthly fee. I'll do it for you. I'll take care of it.
The $3,000 standard industry fee.
It doesn't have to be $3,000. $3,000 will get you a great package, right? I'll tell you that much. All right, it'll be solid. It'll be a solid package. All right, but that's kind of what I want to do. Like I want to focus on doing that stuff. I love making videos, right? And the thing is, am I an expert? No, but I'm pretty good at what I do. If you see most of the stuff, 99% of the stuff that you see come out on our channel, I'm the one that edits it. Like. You know, Richie goes, how much? Takes up hours of my fucking week. Right? Right?
There you go.
It's brutal, man. Nice plug. I edit my own vids and I'm the only one watching. Hey, listen, Italian lad, if you ever get tired and you want that time back, you let me know. All right?
So we got options here, guys.
We got options for you. All right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like, I've also learned, I kind of get in my head where I'm like, oh, I'm not a cinematic video, like film editor. You don't have to be.
No.
You just have to be pretty good. And I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at what I do, you know? So
absolutely, yeah.
That's where I am right now. I'll keep you posted, everybody, on how this progresses.
Check back in for updates.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to hire Doug,
right?
Check back in.
Slotty says, don't let Justin talk to you about pricing, but trying to get that guy to value his own work appropriately since I came into the fold. I'm probably in the same boat as him where I'm like, I don't know, man. How much is this worth?
I was gonna say, Slotty, you're already preaching to the choir. Like Doug's already where I am. I guarantee it.
I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Is it this or that? Who knows? Who knows?
We all don't have the unwavering confidence of Slotty Bartfast.
That's right. The man, the myth, the legend.
Himself. That's
true. He's a good friend to have because not only will he keep you honest and he'll push you, but he'll also recommend great anime, for you.
And he's got a killer sourdough starter.
He does. The guy can bake like nobody's business. I've been thinking the same thing about editing corporate podcasts for people, right? Yeah. My son plays Illusion of Gaia. I don't think I know that one, but it sounds interesting.
Does he do that for a job? I'm confused because that sounds awesome.
What's his monthly retention? What's he get for that? I'm just curious for pure market research.
Yeah, just asking for a friend. Doug.
Asking for a friend. All right. Well, speaking of research, gang, check this out. This is late May when this story came out, and it was definitely trending on Twitter, and we finally got to it because the last couple of weeks we found other things to talk about. But gene editing experiment has turned fluffy hamsters into aggressive mutant rage monsters. This involves the controversial CRISPR technology, which we talked about years ago. If I'm not mistaken, it was episode 54.
Jesus Christ.
Episode 54 with Carly, a.k.a. C2.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Way back then.
I had to go back and remind myself what CRISPR was. I followed link after link on this one until I got back to the original story. So I think I'm caught up on what this is.
If you don't know, CRISPR, which is spelled capitals, all caps, CRISPR, is a technology that can be used to edit genes and, as such, will likely change the world. The essence of CRISPR is simple. It's a way of finding a specific bit of DNA inside a cell. After that, the next step in CRISPR gene editing is usually to alter that piece of DNA. So this was something that came out, years ago because the concept of it is, I think what we were talking about back in episode 54 was designer babies. The idea of like designing the child that you want to have using this kind of, technology. And it appears that they've tried this out on hamsters, and it did not go well at all.
Well, if you following it back, like in 2019, apparently they tried it with the two twins using the CRISPR method, and it did not go well then. And so they tried it again with these hamsters, and again, to no surprise, did not go well.
Yes. Richie, I think the Umbrella Corporation is big into CRISPR. Yes, they are. Resident Evil, can't go wrong there, right? Nothing ever went bad from messing with this stuff. So their objective here, this was at Georgia State University, they were examining a hormone called vasopressin and its receptor. There's a number in this. It's AVPR1A. So there we go. Apriva. I don't know. Apria. They opted to try and remove the latter from a group of Syrian hamsters with the expectation it would increase bonding and cooperation between the lovable little critters. That's because the AVPR1A is understood to regulate things like teamwork and friendship as well as dominance and bonding, but their expectation went very, very wrong. So, an understatement from Professor H. Elliot Albers says, we were really surprised at the results.
Always what you want to hear from a scientific study.
They're like, we anticipated that if we eliminated vasopressin activity, we would reduce both aggression and social communication, but the opposite happened.
They grew and they turned green, and it was weird.
They exhibited high levels of aggression towards other same-sex individuals. So it says all hamsters, regardless of genotype or sex, exhibited aggression, including chasing, biting, and pinning when exposed to non-aggressive same-sex conspecific in a neutral arena. So the professor said this was a startling conclusion. So the idea that these things that have been edited would just come into an area and there was just another same-sex hamster just hanging out and they were like, "Argh!" It was like 28 days later, just full of rage, which is insane. They chose to experiment with these types of hamsters, the Syrian hamsters, because unlike mice, they have social organization that's similar to humans. So, and this is probably my favorite set of quotes here. Like, even though we know that vasopressin increases social behavior by acting within a number of brain regions, it is possible that the more global effects of AVPR1A receptors or whatever, doesn't matter. What he really says here is, we don't understand this system as well as we thought we did.
And that right there, I feel, is the key quote of this entire conversation.
Yeah.
We don't understand the system as well as we thought we did.
Yes. And I think, here's the thing. Am I curious about this technology? Absolutely. Like, I am. The fact that anyone has developed a technology, and I don't even know how this technology works. Mm-hmm. Like, when you say technology, I'm like, what is it, like a laser? You know, like, right. I don't know what this like.
Is it a software? Is it a right?
Yeah, I have no idea. Is it like Pro Tools? I mean, is it Adobe Premiere Pro, but for genes? I have no idea. We'll just cut there and then separate, and then we'll just merge it, and we'll do like a crossfade there. Perfect. We're good to go. I have no clue. No idea. But
Jim, did you have Snap to Grid enabled? Oh,
shit, no. That's what I did. I overwrote something else. Damn it. Crap. I eyeballed it. I didn't really do it. I didn't zoom in. But but at the same time, it's like, really, what's our end goal here? Like, what is the end goal?
Right. Well, I think in the previous instance, in the 2019 version with the twins, they removed a gene that HIV. This gene is needed for HIV to get into the blood system. So they were trying to make these twins immune to HIV, and they thought that by doing this, but what they didn't realize is that this gene had way more of an effect on cognitive abilities than they had previously thought. And so they basically, the way I'm reading the article is that they damned these twins to a life of who knows. Like, they might be geniuses. They might be, licking the walls. We don't know what they're like. And I sit there and I go, like, that's a pretty steep oopsie daisy, and instead of trying to alter genetic code maybe we just continue working on the treatments for the virus and the diseases that we have. I just feel like that's I know we you and I don't necessarily share in a lot of religious beliefs, but the concept of playing God, I think, is kind of a universal, and you can say God with the big G or little g, but the idea, the concept of playing God, without putting too much of a religious connotation to that, I feel like this is smack dab in the middle of that, and I think that's a very dangerous place to start playing in.
Well, I remember, I think it was in a philosophy class I had at one point where it talked about the idea of playing God is like, where do you draw the line, really? Because technically speaking, taking medicine is playing God. Because
then that's fair, yes.
That's like at the very basic level. Like we've discovered technology that allows us to fight off disease by taking pills or shots or things like that. So
sure.
I think there's certain levels of it we can say, I think that's okay because, insert your argument. I think it's easier to argue that than, if someone's like, what if we made it so that you would never get a particular disease just by using this laser gun? Again, I'm going to go with it's a laser.
I like to think that they're looking through, the things at the DMV that you have to put when you do an eye test.
Yeah.
And then they've got two joysticks, and they're trying to, it's almost like Star Wars. They're trying to line up, and then they have to fire the photons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're just, they just try to do that sort of stuff. I'm right back in your T13s, right? I don't know if I got that right or not. Whatever. Come at me, Star Wars fans. We all know you're reasonable human beings who have very well thought out arguments, have very, you're very patient and understanding of other people in the fandom, and that you're willing to accept criticism constructively and then give a very muted and reasonable response. So please, Star Wars fans, let me know. Did I get that right? Because
been proven time and time again.
I appreciate you fucking twats. Anyway, so I'm just trying to think. I would love to hear more about like what the ultimate end goal is for this, because obviously they're playing around with this. They don't fully understand it. What's the end goal, right? Are we looking to find, is there a gene you can edit so no one gets COVID? Is there like what's the end goal for all of this outside of
right?
Because if the idea is, because let's say that this was successful. Let's say that these didn't turn into, they didn't turn into Hulk hamsters, right? What if they say that it worked? The goal was what? To promote teamwork and friendship and bonding. Okay.
To genetically remove aggression and to force more communal. Yeah.
I mean, that's a really scary path to go down, right? If you're like, listen, we could just do this and this person's going to be a lot more docile. Like that seems pretty fucked up. And who knows, maybe 100 years from now, 200 years from now, it'll be no different than like us being like, yeah, playing God's taking a pill, but no big deal. They're like, yeah, of course we make people more docile and more like, lovable and things like that. That's great and less aggressive. That's good. And you know what? I'm sure there's an argument to be made as people are shooting the shit out of each other in our country that like, hey, maybe less aggression's a good thing, right? But there's also something about that's like, who gets to make that decision?
And that's the key right there, is that by doing that, you're opening up the floodgates to, okay, we are going to this goes right back to the women's rights issue of my body, my choice. Like, it is, you're imposing certain beliefs, like the belief of less aggression or the belief of improved teamwork or the belief, like whatever it is, you're imposing a section of beliefs on an unwilling participant, or you're taking away the choice. And it just, and I agree that we all need to be less aggressive, but I don't think that we need to edit our genes to make that so, because again, who knows what else gets taken away in that. And then what's the next step? Because, well, we did this. Now there's a use case for the next gene that we want to edit.
Right. And listen, I've seen Firefly and Serenity. All right. And I saw what they're not the Empire in that show. I forget what they're called, but whatever, whoever's in charge of that. I saw what happened, right? They had a whole planet called Miranda, right?
That's it. Yeah.
And in Miranda, you know what they did? They pumped some shit in the air to make people more docile, more calm. And you know what happened, Justin?
What's
you know
that?
what happened? Spoiler alert. You know what happened?
What happened?
The people just altogether stopped functioning. They just laid down, they went to sleep, and they died. Except a fraction of the percentage of the planet turned absolutely rageful. Just insane. All they wanted to do was do harm. And they became known, they started mutilating their bodies. And they became known as the Reavers. And these Reavers started rampaging across the universe. Okay? I don't think we need to make the Reavers. Okay?
I agree.
Yeah. Fucking bastards.
I'll tell you this. Based off purely that explanation, I now want to watch Starfire and Fire. What is it?
Star Fox.
Firefly and Star Fox.
Yeah, it's Firefly and
Light.
Serenity.
That's right. I want to watch them.
Yeah, they're good.
I want to watch BattleBots. I want to watch all the things.
BattleBots.
Yep.
Richie says it's all about money at the end of the day and not really helping people. All these experiments are being funded by big pharma that will capitalize in the long run. Greedy cunts. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think you're off at all on that one. I do think it all comes back to money.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, if you can convince people to do this, right? Like you convince people to be like, hey, man, you should just edit your genes. First of all, actually, I don't know. It's hard enough to get people to take a fucking vaccine, all right? So if you're trying to present this to people where it's like, hey, we're going to edit your genes, I don't think that's going to fly. So I think there'll be pretty strong resistance to that.
Sure. Yes. But I mean, again, it cracks open the door for the argument to be made.
Sure.
If you start to do this and it becomes successful, it probably won't happen within a year's time, but you know, it doesn't need to move fast for it to make a lot of problems for people.
It's definitely some dystopian future shit.
It is, yeah.
To me, it spooks me in a lot of ways because I'm like, I'd love to hear someone make an argument for it. I'm sure it'll be like, it'll be great to do these things. But I'm like, the other day, it kind of gives me the creeps.
Yeah. To me, this comes right back down to you're imposing your views on someone else's body or in someone else's future. And I have a problem with that at the end of the day. And I don't know. I think there's just the potential for a lot of really fucked up situations to come out of that.
It's interesting. It's interesting you bring up fucked up situations because there's another story that was trending on Twitter recently.
Lay it on me.
Again, something we wanted to get to, but we had more fun with other stuff. But there was this thing trending, I think it was last week on Twitter, that was called Disney Adults, is what it was called. And there was one thread in particular that caught my eye, and it was based on an Am I the Asshole posting on Reddit. And essentially, the title of it was, Am I the Asshole for Not Having Catering at My Wedding? And the summary of this was, man and woman, huge Disney fans, right? Can't argue there. Decided to get married in Disney. Way to go. And everything was fine, but like a month and a half, like after the wedding or so, the married couple's aunt started talking shit on Facebook, saying how disappointed they were. And essentially what this was is that Disney is apparently a huge deal to them. It's a huge part of their life. Getting married is like, there was like a big component of their relationship. So they decided not to, Jared goes, Disney Adults, this will go well. It will. The issue was that they decided not to offer catering services or bar services at their wedding and instead used money towards having a wedding Minnie and Mickey make appearance during their wedding. So the cost to have both Minnie and Mickey was a good chunk of time. It was 30 minutes. And it was exactly what their parents allotted for their catering budget. So they also apparently let the guests know, hey, there are plenty of places to get food here. It just won't be provided for you. So the guests would have to pay for their own. And I also love how they put a note in there. It's like there was also vending machines that were there. So I was like, okay. The parents
I'm gonna go grab a bag of Cheetos for the table. Right. Does anyone want anything?
It costs $5 because you're at Disney, you know. It says their parents were still very supportive, but everyone else is being passive aggressive about it on Facebook. So am I the asshole? So they say they clearly outlined in their invitations that there was food available at the venue. We didn't exactly spell out every restaurant's menu, but it was certainly mentioned. There were also vending machines available throughout. So, and they also said that
kicker for me.
For everyone saying that it's too much for 30 minutes, I want to clarify that it was 2 30-minute sessions on different days. $2,750 was the cost for one session. So essentially
$2,750.
So they did 2 sessions. That's over $5,000, almost $5,500 essentially to have Minnie and Mickey show up twice. So
okay.
The issue here was that they decided it was more important to them to have Minnie and Mickey show up at their wedding twice than to provide catered food and bar services to their guests. So I'm a Disney fan, Disney World fan. I got married there. Justin, you're a Disney fan. You've been there plenty of times. We've talked about it recently.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your initial reaction to this sort of
so
story?
My initial
Are they the asshole?
I would argue no. I do not think they're the asshole. And my reasoning behind that is that you go to a wedding, you're not going to a restaurant. Is there an unwritten social obligation or contract that says that you're going to get fed a wedding? Traditionally, yes. But I'll say this, not everyone has an open bar at a wedding. Sometimes there's a cash bar.
That was my wedding.
Right.
Mostly because I only had 30 people and majority of the people there didn't drink. So it's like, what's the point of paying for this? Right. So
if you want booze, go pay for booze.
Yeah.
Now, is it the norm? No. An open bar probably is way more normal than a cash bar. But cash bars are a thing that does happen at weddings that people are very well aware of. Is it way less common to not provide food? Absolutely. Make people pay for their own. But I would say that you're going to a wedding. The purpose of going to a wedding is to celebrate the couple that is getting married. If you see on the invite that food will not be served, then you are, and that is an issue for you, then you RSVP no. You know, I don't think you go to the wedding and say, oh boy, I can't wait for the spread that they're going to put out in front of us tonight. Now, I'll say that our wedding had some of the best food that you've ever had in the world, and so we win that. But if we chose not to do that and we wanted to put it towards something else that was incredibly meaningful for us, that is our decision as the bride and groom on our day. And if you don't want to celebrate in that, you don't have to. You're invited. You're not required. So that is my initial take. What is yours, and or change my mind?
I get why some people would be annoyed, but the thing that I think trumps that, or at least cancels that, is that it was listed. Now, I'd love to know how explicit it was listed on the invitations, because the author wrote an edit saying they, if the guests were warned, he says, we clearly outlined in the invitations that there was food available at the venue. If it was listed as there's food available at the venue, I find that to be misleading.
That I will agree with that. Right.
Because if they explicitly said food will not be catered, you will be able to order your own food throughout the venue.
Available for purchase at the venue.
Exactly, right?
Right.
That's fine. So I will go with them and say explicitly it was said that, hey, yeah, you're going to have to pay for your own shit. And I'm in your boat that if you RSVP yes for that, then you have to go along with it. Like, that's up to you. I'll also add, secondly, this is in Disney World, man. Like, this ain't, getting married in some rural church in fucking nowhere, Missouri. Like, where it's just, oh, we're in a barn and there's no food here? What the fuck, man? Like, you are in
right
one of the most renowned entertainment places in the world. Finding food isn't that hard. I do agree that it's unusual to not provide food to your guests. And I would probably, even if I did decide to go, if I was invited to the wedding and I am who I am now, and it's like, oh, they're not paying for food, and I find us because they're paying for that, I would probably scoff and be like, I don't think it's fucking worth it. But I'm also like, well, I guess I'm eating before we go do all this. Like, I would figure it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would figure that out. But I don't know. I guess I'm in the mindset of like assuming that the invitations were clear. That hey, that's
the key. That's the operative point. Yes.
Yeah. If it was absolutely clear what was expected and people were still pissed about it, I'm like, tough shit. Like, I don't want to hear about it. If it wasn't clear, people were expecting something different, they would have a right to complain. I think
Yes.
in that regard, because honestly, we talked about this last week. I don't typically enjoy weddings. They're overly stuffy, and there's tradition there that I can't stand. Like, there's a lot of stuff I don't enjoy. So I'm seeing some great comments here so far that kind of reference that. Jared says, yes, people go to weddings to eat and dance. The rest doesn't matter. I went to a wedding without food. It was awful. If there's no food, there's no gifts, right? And he goes, this is what my mate's little brother would do. His missus is a big Disney fan, and he's a broke idiot who sells Amway.
And Slotty goes, yeah, I had to prioritize my gift money towards buying food at your fucking wedding.
He's like, you're expecting people to devote an entire day to hanging out in uncomfortable clothes, and you won't even feed them? That sounds like a job. Yeah. And Sally also makes another point. It's not as bad as the people who do an extravagant destination wedding and shame their poor friends who can't attend. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, that's.
I
Totally.
think that's the thing. Like, if you're going to do a destination wedding, you put the invites out to whomever you want, and if people come, that's incredible. If I like, that's at the same token. I feel like people who do a destination wedding and then still expect a gift on top of that. that I disagree with. Like, the destination, me coming, like me dropping $3,000 on tickets to your wedding, that's a whole, like, that's your gift. I'm showing up to support you. I'm there to support you and show you how much I love you and celebrate your big day. And that is what it is. And if I were throwing that, like, no way, shape, or form would I expect anyone to bring a gift. But yeah, like, if you're going to shame people for not showing up to that, no, fuck off. You chose to do a destination wedding.
Yeah.
Those who are going to come up show are going to show, and those who aren't, they aren't. It's fine.
Yeah, I was really bad with the wedding gifts anyway. Like, I didn't, when we were going and putting a registry together, I was like, why are we scanning towels? And Jill's like, God damn it, Doug. I was like, no, we don't. Like, I was so bad at it. She had explained to me multiple times. She's like, it's not about what you need, okay? It's about what you want. And I'm just like, this is dumb. Like, the whole tradition thing, I was just like, I don't understand any of this. I don't want gifts from anybody, honestly. Like, I don't want or need anything from anybody. Like, this is
why
bizarre bullshit. Because she and I also had lived together for years. So we had already, like, gotten a lot of things. It's like, what else?
You were starting to build your home together.
It's one thing if it's like back in the day, it's like, oh, they're now going to live together and they don't have all this shit. It's like, we have all this stuff. Like, for me, I was like, hey, if you can make it here, great. If not, no worries. Like, let's have a vacation and in the middle of it, we'll get married and have fun. Like, that's, that's all I'm here for.
Before, at the start of the vacation, we won't legally be allowed to have sex, and then somewhere near the middle, we'll
be breaking the law in the beginning, and then towards the end, it'll be legal.
I think that's why I think you would have very much enjoyed our wedding, and we would have very much enjoyed yours, because I feel like we both bucked tradition a little bit on what we did. Yeah. And I think that's, like, in the same vein, like, and this is the same point that we made when we were talking about religion the other week, is that if tradition means a lot to you and you want to do something that is hyper traditional, that's great. That is your choice. And if you invite me to the wedding and I show up, I'm ready for it. Like, it may not be my cup of tea, but I'm coming there to take part in a celebration that means a lot to you because I love you. And conversely, if you're coming to my thing and you say yes to coming, strap in. Like, you made the choice to come. And presuming that everything was laid out in clear,
no
wording
surprises,
and black and white, then there should be no debate on this.
Yeah,
really.
I do like what Jody Eckler Levine, who kind of like put this thread together. She's a professor and a book author, and she's writing a book about Disney and religion. She did a whole thread based on this, and one of the things she mentioned, she goes, many of the Disney fans I have observed in person and online find immense meaning in the parks. People don't just marry at Disney. They mourn lost relatives at Disney. They go to Disney to celebrate surviving cancer. They go there for one last trip before they die. And they say, all this happens at Disney. Cast members literally welcome you home. Like, it's right. She's talking about how there is a relationship between, like, religion and Disney, which is interesting. Disney owns our stories. For some people, both those who have another traditional wedding and those who don't, the promise of magic at Disney and the feelings they get there are powerful. I've seen people cry at the fireworks many times.
Yes.
Incidentally,
I've got choked up at the fireworks before.
I got choked up watching Natalie watch them. Incidentally, the latest fireworks show goes. The magic is calling. Answer the call. An altar call if there ever was one. This person goes, would I want to go to a wedding with no food because the bride and groom wanted photos with Mickey? No, I would not. But when they say Disney is a big part of their lives, I take that seriously. Maybe they met there. Maybe the ideas the mouse stand for bring them joy. Maybe it's the only place their parents ever acted happy. Or maybe they are selfish. But if we measure religion not by its truth claims, because we can't assess those, we have something much more powerful, but by its power in people's lives in Disney. And then the thing I liked too was,
excuse me.
Let's see here. This couple left their guests hungry, and it was perhaps unwise and lacking in guest host hospitality. They broke a social contract in a public way, but it hurt only their guests. I can think of a ton of people in hurting a lot more Americans. Like, so that's the thing is, to wrap this up, so to speak, are they the asshole? It depends on their wedding invitations.
It depends on the wording of the wedding invitation.
Because if they were not clear enough and the expectations were off, then everyone has a right. Because if they understand going into this, they're not going to be fed.
Right.
Then feed yourself before you fucking get there. Like, that's on you,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
if you don't know that and you're like, boy, I can't wait to see what Disney's wedding catering is all about. And it's like, oh yeah, no, we're not getting that. There's some vending machines over there.
Waffles.
Yeah. You can go get a Coke out of the Coke machine. It's like, what the fuck? Right. So that's kind of where I stand on that. So
I think you and I are on the exact same page on that. It all comes down to the wording.
It does. It
comes down to a very practical point in this whole thing.
That's always what it is. It's always a practical point, which I'm all here for. All right. Speaking of wording, Justin, It's time yet again, gang, for another segment of Anime Out of Context.
One of these days, I will have a theme song made.
All I recommend to you, Justin, is go and watch a bunch of different anime openings, and you will be inspired. I shit you not.
I already have some ideas.
Okay, that's cool.
I already have some ideas. Yeah,
That's cool. Keep those cards close to your chest. Yep. So if you've never been here for this, if this is your first time checking out Anime Out of Context, what I have done is I have found a particular anime scene from some show, and I just pick a scene that I find to be particularly absurd and unusual, and I transcribe it, and I assign roles to Justin and we do a cold read of it. Now, I usually have the advantage because I have watched it, and I understand how it's supposed to be done. Justin has no idea. Justin does not watch anime. Justin has no idea what any of this stuff is most of the time. And really what I'm doing is I'm pimping Justin out. I'm putting him in a position where he has to read something. Usually he's the character I try to make the expert, that his character knows everything and he has to deliver it like a real boss.
Like a real boss.
And it's really entertaining to me. So if you would like to participate in this, if you would like to be like, hey, I want to give Doug a taste of his own medicine, and you want to participate in this, find your anime scene. All you got to do is send us a message on our socials or hit us up in our Discord. I have a special channel set aside for Anime Out of Context. All you got to do is send us a link to your transcription. Definitely give the credit to name of the episode number, things like that. And, assign us our roles and things like that to make sure we know what to do. Give us minimal direction, and then we'll be off to the races. So, we're welcome to do it. This week,
we would love to have some submissions from you.
I hear some people chatting about what they have in store.
It's out there.
And listen, I understand. Okay, typing this shit out, it's not the most fun thing in the world, but the payoff is worth it.
Just use speech to text, guys. It's so easy.
I don't. I do it the hard way. But whatever. All right. So this week was actually inspired by Chef Mike. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. He's an amazing human. He tweeted out the other day that he goes, man, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, this movie's awesome. And I laughed and I wrote a tweet back to him because this movie is insane. And I recently rewatched it because I remember loving this. This movie came out in 96, I believe.
Okay.
I remember watching it back then being like, this is so fucking cool, probably because I hadn't seen much anime in my time. This is a bonkers. I shouldn't say it's bonkers, but it's a wild movie. All right. And it's animated. The voice acting is a little rough around the edges. But this is a particular scene. This happens towards the end of the movie. And Justin, I'm actually going to challenge you to play 2 roles in this.
All right.
Justin, are you familiar with Street Fighter 2 at all?
I am. I'm familiar with the video game series, and I'm familiar with the live action. I cannot say I'm familiar with any of the animated versions of it.
All right. So you are going to be playing Guile, and you're also going to be playing M. Bison.
All right.
I think there's like 2 moments where you have to, talk to yourself. Yeah.
Right,
so this should be good.
I'm putting on. I'm going to do voices for this one too.
Oh, great! Here we go.
We're going to change it up a little bit. They're not going to be spoiler alert. Not going to be anything that you've heard these characters sound like before. Unlike, more than likely.
You're making a creative choice, right? That's all we need to know. All right, here we go. A United States helicopter descends from the clouds onto an isolated home in the mountains. Guile leaps from the helicopter and sprints towards Ryu.
Are you Ken Masters' friend Ryu?
That depends. Who wants to know?
Captain Guile, operative of the United States Air Force.
Yeah, I'm Ryu. What's this about Ken?
Your friend's been abducted by an organization called Shadow Law.
What do you mean abducted?
And their ultimate plan is to turn him into a terrorist.
That's ridiculous. There's no way he could ever become a criminal.
They're subjecting him to a form of mind control.
Ken is not a terrorist. A large aircraft suddenly appears, engines roaring. It quickly approaches and begins to land on the mountaintop.
Shit! Bison had me tailed.
What the? As the engines on the aircraft begin to power off, a ladder extends down and a figure in a cloak steps out into the light. It is Ken, and he has red tinted eyes. He's been mind controlled. Ken! Ken marches down the ladder. Bison appears out of the doorway and stares at Guile and Ryu.
Well, look what crawled out of the woodwork. Why, Captain Guile, it's been such a long time. Finally, the stars of the show are assembled on the stage. Take a bow.
Stinking bastard! What have you done to Ken, huh?
Well, Ryu. I was looking for you, but you're a difficult man to find. So I recruited Ken in your absence.
Ken stares fiercely at Ryu, his eyes full of hate. Ryu runs at Bison. Let him go now! Ken's body stiffens and he removes his cape in a super cool flourish. He jumps and kicks Ryu right in the face, knocking him on his back. What have they done to you? Ken! Ken gives a hateful stare to Ryu.
Nice job, huh? Your friend is now the perfect exterminator for my subtle... exterminator. Thanks to my subtle influence. Beating him isn't going to be so easy.
No, don't! Ken! Resist it! Ken continues to stare intensely.
Hee. Save your energy, boy. You're going to need all you can muster on the battlefield. And your utter annihilation is the sole mission in his life.
No way! He's my friend!
Bison, I'm going to rip your lousy heart out, you filthy bastard. Hee. Afraid I don't have one. You know, Guile, evil is a good career choice. It has a lot to offer.
And scene.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's
oh my. I think there are some wonderful parts in this. What is the thanks to my subtle influence. Nothing about this is subtle. I have a spoiler alert, Bison. Nothing about this is subtle.
Well, it's so funny because like he has psychic powers, but they refer to them as psycho powers in the movie.
Okay.
And
I'd like to attribute that to a typo in the writer, like a writer's assistant did not like, because psycho it's not an incorrect word. It's the wrong word for that, but it's not misspelled. So I like to think that a writer's assistant just got lazy, or they were super drunk,
or it was a bad translation from Japanese to English. You know,
that could be too. Yeah, I'd like to blame the writer's assistant, but that's
there you
me.
go. Yeah. This movie's crazy because the premise is that Bison is sending out these cyborgs to have them analyze Street Fighters around the world.
Okay.
And so they will scan them and somehow spit out a number that tells them how powerful they are. And there was another scene I almost did in here too, where Bison's talking with his scientist.
Yeah.
Scientist is like, "Do you really believe this Ryu exists? I mean, we've analyzed all the other Street Fighters and no one's been able to get over 2,000. He's at 3,600. I mean, is that even possible?"
Oh, the numbers again. What is with the numbers, man? Yeah. Why did they do this?
It was absolutely insane. And it's just the idea that they took everything from the game so fucking literal in this show, and they're just like, we've got to find Street Fighters. We've got to find them, and we've got to recruit them into Shadow Law. It's just got to get them to join the organization and do bad things.
I also like Captain Guile, operative of the United States Air Force.
I also think it's interesting because he goes, "Your friend's been abducted by an organization called Shadow Law." He's like, "What do you mean abducted?" He's like, "And their plan is to turn him into a terrorist."
Right.
Hilarious.
Like it's such a...
But Ryu's response is like, "That's ridiculous. There's no way he could ever become a criminal," which seems like it doesn't necessarily respond to him being a terrorist.
Right.
The guy's like, he's getting mind controlled. He's like, "Ken is not a terrorist." It's like, I feel like you missed.
Right. No, I hear you, but you understand how mind control works, right?
Like, at first he's like, they're talking to a terrorist. He's like, he won't be a criminal. He's like, no. I mean terrorist. But he doesn't respond to that. Like, he responds to that line like a beat later. He's like, "Ken is not a terrorist." It's so dumb.
Oh, my God.
My favorite thing, and this is why I tweeted to Chef Mike, is he's like, "This movie's so awesome." And I like, "You mean the movie that ends with M. Bison driving an 18-wheel truck straight at Ryu, who then is jumping in the air to punch the girl of the semi, all set to Korn's Blind, and that's how the credits roll? Like, Ryu's going to punch.
You don't even see it resolve.
No, it's, "Are you ready?" And it freeze frame as he's about to punch the truck because here's the thing. Spoiler. Ken and Ryu defeat Bison, right? They do their Hadoukens at the same time. They hit him, and he just like vanishes. They're like, "We beat him." And then this is in fucking Japan or some shit. I don't even know where they are. Then they go back. I assume they're back in the U.S. And Ken and Ryu, they punch fists, and they're like, "See you later, bro." And Ryu's walking away down the road, and out of nowhere comes this fucking semi. And who's driving it? It's fucking M. Bison. He's like, "Bison!" Freeze frame.
Right.
And then Korn plays.
To the fact that Ryu's work is never done.
Yeah. And then Korn plays. It's like, what? This is such a 90s, like.
What is this? Yeah.
What is happening? It is bonkers.
I really, really.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's available.
Great.
Yeah.
I really wish that my biggest wish is that someone would take these that we do and not necessarily even animate them, but illustrate them.
Or dub them over the actual film.
Exactly. That would be, I would be endlessly indebted to the person who took the time to do that with just do something with these, because I just think, Doug, our voice acting needs to be seen against the actual.
Sure does.
Footage. I think, you know how we were talking about having a midlife crisis and what we want to do next with our lives. I feel like this is where it's at. I feel like this is it. We found the answer.
This is it. This is what we do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've got our answer.
Well, once again, if you want to contribute to this, hit us up on our social medias, and all you got to do is just, you got to type this out. That is the challenge, all right? You got to do it. You got to type it out like a script, and just, give us the stage directions and everything like that. Because I look forward to getting a script to something that I don't know, and being like, having us both be like, okay, what the fuck do you think is happening? Because I can give you context to this. Mm-hmm. But if you give me something I haven't seen, I won't know the context, and I think it'll be more fun for us to try and fucking figure that out. Because
that will be when this segment has reached its ultimate form. That will be it.
And listen, gang, if you haven't watched anime before, anime is weird. So odds are we won't know the context. So which will make it extra fun. So extra fun. Woo! Well, this was fun,
man.
Good stuff. Thank you for being a good sport about this. It's
quickly becoming one of my favorite segments.
I love it. I absolutely love doing it. But let's talk about recommendations. Justin, what do you have to recommend this week?
Well, I would say that the final season of Peaky Blinders just dropped on Netflix.
Sure
last
did.
week. I am 3 episodes into it. I have no idea where they're taking it or how they're going to resolve this in 6 episodes total. But I like the show. I would say it's worth a watch. The first 2 seasons are absolutely incredible. Seasons 3, 4, and 5 are very good and follow their own kind of arc. This one has not felt like a typical Peaky Blinders season, and it's kind of interesting, and I like it. So I would say if you have not given the show a shot, go ahead and check it out. I'm back and forth on the future of this show because they're talking about doing a movie, 6 seasons in a movie, and then potentially having some sort of a spin-off series or something. Like I'm hoping they can just wrap this up and leave it because it would be amazing.
Yeah.
But thus far, I recommend. I would say give it a shot if you have not seen it. It's on Netflix, so go check it out.
Check that shit out, y'all.
Check that shit out. What do you got, Dougie?
I recommend I recommend all the episodes, but specifically episode 13 of Dudesy. Is phenomenal. Allegedly, I have to say that with Justin because Justin doesn't believe this show. Allegedly, Dudesy booked Neil deGrasse Tyson without Will Sasso and Chad Kultgen knowing, because they're getting set up for the show, and Dudesy just does his AI thing. He's like, basically saying, you have a few minutes to essentially go into the folder that I have created and look up information on Neil deGrasse Tyson. And then they're like, what? And then Neil deGrasse Tyson is just promoting a new book. So he didn't seem like he knew, like this wasn't weird for him. He's like, yeah, cool, I'll talk about my book. And they're like, And Will Sasso's hilarious because he doesn't talk much during the interview because he doesn't have much to say. It reminded me of you during an episode of this when we're talking about video games or something. But where he chimes in is how he can somehow relate professional wrestling to physics, which is amazing. It's so cool. They have a wonderful conversation, and
that sounds fun. I like it.
It's very fun, and it ends with Will Sasso. Dudesy created a product that they want to sell called Dudesy Hard Seltzer, and at one point they made Will Sasso and Chad make a theme song for it. They just sang a lot and somehow meshed it all together to create this insane theme song. And it basically said there's a 74% chance that Adam Driver will be the celebrity, sponsor or promoter for this. So Will, you are going to read Dudesy Hard Seltzer ads as Adam Driver. And
Does he do an Adam Driver impression?
He goes, I don't really know how to do this, but I'll try. And he tried, and there was some weird AI ad reads, and
fantastic,
highly entertaining. So I enjoy that podcast in general. It's very fun. That episode in particular had me very amused. I was very entertained by it. So you should definitely check that out. In addition to that, you should check us out on all social medias at Mind Gap Podcast. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, God damn, we're closing in on those 200 subs, which is awesome. That's a fun milestone for us. Almost 20% of the way to monetization on that side of things. So please do that, and do us a favor, share it around, even if it's just to one person, just being like, hey, I think you're gonna really dig this shit. Check out this short, check out this segment, check out this episode. Send it. If you want to send it to a broader audience, we won't be mad at you. Just please share us around so more people can enjoy this, and hopefully we'll start building on this momentum and getting more people here. Also, don't forget to check out our Discord. Link is in the description down below. Come join us. Come hang out with us. And check us out live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, where we live broadcast our podcast, be a part of the chat. And Saturdays, I host a video game stream. So come check out there and hang out with them. And don't forget to check out Justin online as well.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, all the places where you can find and consume quality podcasts. You can find and consume us. And like Doug said, sharing us, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all those things are huge. Sharing is one of the biggest things you can do for us. And then 2east8th.com, and keep an eye on all of 2east8th's social medias because we got things are coming. And then also Love and Improv Film. I think again, I had to check this out again. I think it's Love and Improv Film on Instagram. Hold on. Love and Improv Film. All spelled out. Love and Improv Film. Follow us on Instagram. That is the official Instagram account for our feature film, which we'll be shooting later this year.
Hell yeah.
What were you sighing about?
Just because you don't even know your own goddamn socials, Justin. Get your shit together, all right?
I didn't create it.
I love it. I didn't create it. Fuck it. Well, this was a fun episode. Thank you all for listening. And more importantly, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chat, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.